Hi, I'm Mike Marino, and this is a brand new episode of Live from My Mother's Basement. Hey, what's happening, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Live from My Mother's Basement. And once again, sadly, we're really not in my mother's basement. We're in the studio in Los Angeles, California, but we're going to bring you that basement flavor. One of my favorite actors / casting directors / teachers / so many more things. This is Lauren Nadler, ladies and gentlemen. Say hello.
Hello.
Hello, 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 hello.
Hello, hello.
But that hello, I don't know if you heard that accent. In the word alone, hello. I don't think she's from Kansas.
God, no, I'm not.
Where are you originally from anyway?
From Queens.
Queens, that's right. I didn't know Queens. I always thought Jersey for some reason or other.
Well, are you from Jersey?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're Jersey Mike.
Oh, he got Jersey all over me.
I'm like, wait, I'm having second guessing it because, I don't know, Joe Sabatino.
Joe Sabatino is a mutual friend of ours.
Yeah.
He's an actor. I haven't seen Joe in a really long time.
Me neither.
Wow. I hope he's doing great.
I see him, he pops up every now and then on Instagram.
Yeah? Wow, I didn't even know he's on Instagram. I think I'm the only one on Instagram. I'm the only one.
You are the only
Follow
one.
me.
You are the
Never in
only
my
one.
life did I ever think I would tell people to follow me.
I
When
know,
we were younger, it's like, don't follow me.
I know, I remember a friend of mine said, you have to get on Twitter. I'm like, what is that? And he was like, we follow you. I'm like, I don't want anybody following me. And then they were like, I absolutely felt like it meant that people would be following me and they would know where I was all the time. And I'm not like the most private person in the world, but I don't want anybody following me. So it's like, I'm not doing that. Still not on Twitter.
Everybody knows where you are all the time now.
Yeah.
As long as you got an iPhone, somebody knows you're in my house right now.
Oh, am I?
Yes. Somewhere in Kansas. I just noticed your blue fingernails. They look pretty amazing. Look at that.
And there's a little snowflake.
Wow, I can't.
Oh,
how do you
that's
even
the
get
wrong-
that finger out?
Oh, I'm pretty flexible.
Wow.
I'm losing my
I
flexibility.
can't even do that.
What do you mean? You can't?
Get one, that finger. Ow.
Can you get the middle one out?
I get the middle one out. That works.
And that one? So that's the only one you can't get out?
No.
Pinky?
That's amazing that you did that. That's the odd finger.
I never thought that was a talent.
That's an odd finger. My left hand can't do shit.
Yeah, me neither, actually. I'm finding that, like, I'm really right-handed. Like, severe.
Oh, yes, I'm
severely
right-handed. That's it. I mean, I'd like this one to be around for looks, but that's it. Queens, New York. When did you come to Los Angeles?
Believe it or not, I came in 2001, and I remember when I came in, I, like, literally, actually, a bunch of my students, like, helped me unpack my truck. I pulled in, and I was like, I unpacked everything and put the last, like, flower pot or vase on top of a big armoire, and all of a sudden we had an earthquake.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I was like, oh my God, why did I come here? And then like 8 months later, we had 9/11. So I was here
Oh, no kidding.
for the 9/11.
I'm here since like 88. That was my first trip out to
88.
Los Angeles. I tried it for a little while. I went running home, and then I came back again.
Yeah, I've been here solid for, like, I was actually bi-coastal for like 7 years before I actually made the move. So what I'll interview you. What brought
Oh, wow.
you out?
I'm being interviewed.
What brought you out?
I came out here for show business. Why would anybody else come
Right.
out here? We're in Los
But
Angeles.
did you have like a gig or did you have representation? Or
No.
Were you
I had
doing
representation, but I never wanted to be a comedian. I wasn't doing stand-up when I came out here.
Oh,
I didn't start doing stand-up till I was 30 years old, but I've been an actor my whole
Really?
life.
wow, yeah, and you're pretty darn good.
I'm doing the best I can, but it's not about me. It's about you.
Okay.
So how long have you been in the industry before you even came to California?
So I, without revealing,
yes,
how
you
old
don't
I
want to
am.
say her age.
I
She
was
just turned 27.
yes, like 30 years ago. I came out. Well, so I was always wanted to be a rock star, actually. And as a kid, I was a dancer. So, I went to ballet school, and then I was like, they started hitting me on my knees, and then my mom said, well, with like at 13, 14, she's like, well, you grew tits, you can't dance anymore. Can I say that?
Yeah.
And I'm like, back then,
Isn't it funny how she asked me after she said it? I grew tits. Can I say that?
well, I did grow them, and I did say it. So, my mom, like literally my mom said to me, you can't be a dancer anymore, because I was a ballet dancer. And, ballet was always like these little tiny streamlined itty bitty tiny frames, and they had to pick you up and stuff. So I went into tap, which made no sense, because in tap you're like, and everything's bouncing all over the place. And then I just quit. I also played the drums when I was little, but I really wanted to be a rock star. And obviously that didn't happen.
A lead singer of like a rock band? That's what you want?
Yeah, like a full-blown rock star.
Yeah.
Like I was, in the delusional age of youth.
I don't know where I mentioned this the other day, but I said there are so many comedians who want to be rock stars, and rock stars would prefer to be a comedian. Not weird?
They would prefer it, or do you think they just think they're trying their hands at it on stage?
There are some that
in
do.
between songs.
But when they do stand-up about being a rock star, it just doesn't work.
That's true.
Because if I was to do stand-up about being a rock star, you would know I'm lying.
But it would be funny.
I would try it. Yeah, when I played the drums myself.
Did you play the drums?
Yeah, I stunk because I was tone deaf, but I knew how to hit it.
Do you have to have your tone hearing in shape to play the drums?
No, that's why I played the drums, because I didn't have to.
Because you just had to have rhythm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So what made you quit?
The drums?
Yeah.
I didn't quit. I still play once in a while.
Oh,
I sucked on them stiff.
Where's your drum kit?
In New Jersey.
Oh.
It's a true story. I actually have the drum kit my father gave me when I was 13. And it's a full-size kit. I play it once in a while.
We had a drum kit in my house because my dad played.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah.
So you come from a family of showbiz?
No, not at all. Like, there's nobody in my family that's in showbiz. My dad was a chiropractor for 60...
That cracked me up. Take your time. We'll be right back after this commercial break.
Yes, you will. You're not supposed to say that. As descendants of chiropractors, you're not supposed to say, crack my back or anything like that. My dad was a chiropractor for 64 years, but actually I remember when we were little, he used to take us to New York City to go see the ballet, because he was actually a ballet. That's actually, yeah, he was a ballet dancer. My dad probably would have been an entertainer if he didn't care about health.
Your father did ballet?
Yeah. Wow. And while he was going to chiropractic school, I don't have much information about that. Then he went to chiropractic school, and he practiced for 64 years. He passed away literally right before the lockdowns, and gratefully so, because I think for him to be in that isolation would have been horrible. You'll probably cut that
torture for everybody.
Yeah.
No, you could say it. But when we went through the pandemic, everybody was losing their minds. You lost your soul. You lost your aggressiveness to be in show business. I couldn't wait to get the hell out of Los Angeles. And that's why I started the podcast, because I couldn't be around anybody.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'll tell you, the one good thing that came out of the lockdowns is this kind of internet world that's opened up to everything. Because I was teaching online, and I went into it kicking and screaming. I'm like, I'm not going to teach on the internet. And now my online classes are like one of my favorite things to do. And we do some really, really interesting things that I don't think anybody else is doing, because I hear so many teachers are like, oh, I got to go do that thing tomorrow. I'm like, what's that thing? I'll teach that class online. And I'm like, then don't do it, because you're spoiling people's spirit. Granted, a lot of people are like in their phones, and we're doing this thing where we're like always on the internet, and we're not in person, and people are in front of you, and you're having meals and nobody's looking at each other. But there are certain things about it that have been extraordinary. I mean, you'd have to be in my class to understand the innovation of it. But I felt like if I'm going to be teaching online 5 classes a week during this time, then I got to make it interesting for myself. And I've got to be productive. And so many people have come out of it, and they're working. They're like not in class anymore because they're working, which is great.
Well, that's what I want to bring everybody up to speed about your classes. So back in Queens, you wanted to be a ballet dancer, wanted to be a rock star, but I would assume you were an actress as well.
I started to look for, so I had this thing in my mind. My mom was a singer too. I mean, nobody went into show business in my family, but my mom was a singer, and I always wanted to be a rock star, and I saw her never making it, and I was like, well, I'm not going to do that. That's going to take forever. And I found this acting class that was like 4 weeks. I'm like, oh, I can be an actor in 4 weeks.
In the city?
In Manhattan, yeah. And I will shout her name out because she's amazing, Karen Ludwig. She's the reason I'm teaching, too. I feel like she's the acting teacher that taught me to act.
I don't know the name. Karen Ludwig is an acting teacher in New York?
Yes, well, I don't really know. She's still teaching. But she was under Uta Hagen. She actually was the one who created and produced the final works of Uta Hagen. and I helped her out. I was like her little,
Oh, no shit.
her little like assistant. And at that time, I think it was on VHS, and it sold for like, I don't know, $200. Now I think you can get it on YouTube.
All right, let's help everybody. There's a lot of people watching this show who are not in show business and probably never heard the word VHS.
That's where you're going with this?
Well, of course, we got to help everybody out.
Yeah.
VHS was this little square thing about
Not
this
little,
big.
large. It
Yes.
was like a brick.
Yeah,
But a
it
thin
was
brick.
the 70s and the 80s.
It was the way to watch video.
Not a DVD, but a hard drive. It was a hard drive. VHS was the hard drive of the 70s and the 80s. And you put it in, you had to buy it.
You put it in a VCR. Mm-hmm. It's a VHS for the VCR. Mm-hmm. And you press play. And you had it when you rented them. You rented movies at like Rainbow Video or whatever.
Blockbuster.
And you had to rewind it when you brought it back.
Because if you didn't rewind it,
charged
it
you.
was unkind. Be kind and rewind. And you put it in a little machine that just rewound it.
That was progress. That was like
That-
that was progress. That was a couple of years later. Like they were like, you know what? We're gonna make a rewinder for people. So then you invested in your rewinder.
Uh-oh. Sorry, somebody made a phone call during the recording. Stop it.
Who is that?
My neighbor.
Doesn't he know what we're doing in
They
here?
know we're busy.
Doesn't he know what we're doing in here?
No, I can't see through the window.
Well, there is no window.
I want to
We're in the
finish this.
basement.
I got to finish this subject. We're in the basement. That was good.
I actually had windows in my basement back home in Queens. They were like high up.
Yeah.
They were like little, like we could peek.
Isn't it great? It was like the greatest place. I love going down the basement still to this day. I own the house I grew up in. And when I'm in the basement, you look up those windows. That's when you could see like the snow falling. You could see somebody trying to maybe rob your house and you stick your gun out the window,
Well, when I became an adolescent, when I became a teenager, my parents sent me to the basement and they built me a bedroom down there. So I actually ended my tenure in Jamaica Estates living in the basement. When I moved out of the basement, I went to Bayside. That's interesting.
Queens.
From the basement to Bayside. Bayside, Queens, yeah. So I know you're getting back to my origin. At 18, I looked for a class, found a class, and I got stuck in that for 6 years.
In the class?
I was in the class for 6 years. I mean, I have a lot of students that are with me 7, 8 years. I mean,
Right.
But they go to work, they get a job, they come back, they go to work, they get a job, they come back, they're progressing and they're learning. Like, you can't just learn everything all at once. And if you want to play different characters and have range,
Of course,
you gotta
anybody
study.
who really wants to be good at your craft, whatever it is, you go and you study and you repetitively study and then you brush up. So if you're an actor pursuing an acting career, it's like a guy who wants to stay in shape. You go to the gym. You don't stop going to the gym because you got in shape.
right. I use that example all the time. I say to people, you don't go like, okay, I'm done. I got muscles. I'm done. You do it. It's a form of maintenance.
Yes.
It's a form of maintenance.
It's like a comic going to an open mic. You don't really want to go. It's not going to be all that great. However, it does retrain you and make you think, oh, yeah, I forgot that lesson that I learned.
But that's an
And
interesting.
you reapply it.
It's an interesting point that you're making. It's like you're saying you don't really want to go. Class is intended, like, I know people hear like class or they hear school or whatever, and they think of like when you were young and you never wanted to go to school. Now, let's face it, the reason we didn't want to go to school is actually that we were being programmed. And I mean, I don't believe in the school system now.
Oh, regular school?
Yes.
Oh, I couldn't imagine going to school these days, boy.
It's horrible. But
Hey, I'm a cat.
they're getting litter
I
boxes.
went to a Catholic school. Could you imagine telling a teacher, I'm a cat? Yeah, okay, here's my fist, cat.
Yep.
I'm going to knock you out.
I'd love to see you in the school system now as a little Mike.
Yeah.
As a little Mikey, you'd get.
I might just be having my own TV series. Coach Mike. I want to be a cat. Well, come here. I'm going to put you in the pool.
Yes, that
Go
would be
swim,
the worst
kitty.
thing. I mean, I love cats, but I don't love human cats. Anyway, we're getting off topic here.
That's good. I like to learn everything and then bring it forward because we are going to talk about the importance of taking an acting class and not just taking an acting class from anyone. You take an acting class from someone who knows the industry. Otherwise, you could be going to the wrong gym. It's like the difference between LA Fitness and the Purple Gym.
What's the purple gym?
Purple gym.
I don't know the purple gym.
I can't think. Planet Fitness.
Oh yeah.
Planet Fitness, where they give you pizza on Wednesday.
That's not true. That's just
true.
What?
You go to Planet Fitness, they have pizza Wednesdays. They give you pizza while you're at the gym. Here, work out. Have some cheese.
Oh my God.
It's true.
How about some M&Ms and chocolate and clock bars?
That's why I go. I go for the candy.
I go for the candy. I just don't go.
I think some of the best talent comes out of the East Coast for the most part. You'll see a lot of actors and actresses coming from New York, New Jersey, Brooklyn. Who knows why? I always said because people live harder.
Well, I'm going to say, people ask me all the time, do you ever want to go back? And until, recently, I've never said, like, yes. I'm always like, absolutely not. I'm glad I'm from there, though. I will say this. I'm glad I'm from New York. I feel a certain, wisdom, strength, knowledge, just having walked
the streets.
In those streets and lived in those schools. And, we were tough in a way that, served us now, I think. But I wouldn't go back. Everybody goes, oh, it's the weather. Well,
wow.
Listen, it is.
The weather.
It is. You can't beat it. Who would, right now my mom and my sister are dealing with a snowstorm and it's beautiful outside. The air quality is not that great, but it is beautiful. And
Los Angeles, if you're doing well in the industry, is a great place to be. If you're not really doing well in the industry, this could be really, really tough. But then again, New York City,
it's just as much of a suck. It's just as much of a suck. Here's the thing though, like in New York City, when I was teaching there and going to class there, we all came in from the outer boroughs and we had to end up in Manhattan.
Mm-hmm.
So like rehearsal was a very strange thing. We'd have to like meet in a lobby of a hotel room or rent studio space because to get from like Queens to Brooklyn, we'd have to go through Manhattan. And it was just a whole entire day on the subway. Or if you drove, which I did, I drove in and out all the time because I just didn't like the subway. It's harder. I think it's harder there. And at the end of the day, everything in this town caters to this industry. Everything, even the newsstands, like everything. So, essentially, unless I feel like a lot of people operate from a place of fear all the time. But if you're like afraid to lose your job because you have to go on an audition, very quickly you should like let that dissipate and go get another fucking job. Oh, can I say fuck?
Yes.
Okay.
That's such a New Yorker. Oh, fuck. Can I say fuck?
Listen, you know what? I think that not everybody is prone to cursing. I have a potty mouth. It's my honest space.
I think you should. Because the truth is always the best. It's a good fuck.
The truth is always fucked.
When you were young and you were in New York City and you're pursuing your career as an actress, what made you think, okay, let me teach as well? Or you wanted to teach?
Wow, it's been a long time since I've answered that question. Really interesting. I was, I don't even know what motivated me to act because I know absolutely nobody who acted. And I went and took this class. And then there was a period where like I was in this woman's class and she was an amazing teacher. I don't even remember what stopped me, but after like 6 years, I stopped without doing anything. So the one thing that I didn't gain from that class is the innovation to figure out what my next move was. Because I was like, okay, I'm taking acting class, but how do I get on the TV? Like, how does that work? Get an agent. Like, what does that mean? It means so many things.
Yeah.
And it means very many things, very different to different people. So I just never got anything off the ground. And I stopped for a long time. I worked in nightclubs and I booked bands and I used to run promotions at clubs. I was running like 3 to 6 clubs at this, like the promotions, like for 6 clubs at the same time. And then one day I just felt like I was starving. Like I was like starving. And actually earlier I was also an artist. My mom, my mom kind of placed us all like, you're going to be the singer, my sister, you're going to be the singer. And she's a chiropractor now. You're going to be the actress or I don't even remember what it was. You're going to be the artist. And I'm like, no, artists don't get famous till they're dead. I wanted fame. I wanted to be a rock star. It is true. But But there's more to art than being famous. There's more to life than being famous. I mean, I'm like kind of stuck in my studio. When people say to me, do you know so-and-so? I'm like, I don't really know, but people know me, yet I keep my head down and I'm just teaching. And there was a period where I was teaching 15, 20 hours a day. Like I was teaching private coaching sessions around my classes and then back to private coaching sessions. And it was like, it was like extremely exciting and stimulating because I love the art of it, but I got lost in it for a really long time and realized like I created a world where I had no life except this. And if I didn't love it, it would be really problematic. But what was I talking about? Oh, so
when you started teaching,
yeah. So
the difference between being an actress and a teacher.
So I don't know. There was so I came back to acting after doing all the clubs for a long time. I was like, I got to do something. And then
Clubs as a singer?
No, promoting the promotions. Like when we used to put flyers on cars and get audiences and crowds. I booked bands.
This is before things like TikTok and Instagram and social media. You had to go out on a street kind of with cards in your hand and hand it to people. Come on. Studio 54.
Yes.
Hey, Xenons. Right?
Yes, 100%. So, yeah, I mean, I was booking bands and I was responsible for the population of certain nightclubs. I'm trying to think of the names of them. My God, some of them were really famous. But I that was when it started where each night had a different promotion. So it was like on one night, it was a rock night. Another night, it was a disco night. Another night, it was alternative new wave. I started in the new wave world, wearing combat boots. And I actually, back then, I did not dye my hair colors. I was the only one who had normal hair. They were mohawks. And I mean, it was crazy. And
I love the word combat boots. That took me back.
I had steel-tipped combat boots.
Remember going down to the village and you bought somebody else's combat boots from like a long time ago?
I actually never did that.
You didn't buy the
No, I had
what's it called? Used clothes?
No, I've never taken to used clothes. Like every now and then I go thrifting and I'm like, oh, this is a really cool old thing, but someone else wore it. I don't know. I got issues.
Whose feet were in here?
Yeah, exactly. So I have little problems with things like that.
I used to go down to Village though and I would buy sports jackets that were like $10 and somebody wore them in the 50s.
I have no judgment about it.
That was a cool look.
I have no judgment about it. I just personally, I like new shit. I like to actually
I like new shit.
Reimagine stuff. Like when they would take old ideas, put it together, and now make a new. Yeah. My mother used to say to me, "No one can dress the way you dress." Like I never want anything that went together, but for some reason on me, it did. I don't know. It was just the way. And sometimes I would just wake up and I'd be like, I want to wear those pants because they're comfortable. I want to wear that top because it's warm. I want to wear those shoes because they're comfortable. None of it goes together. And I'd walk out the door.
Right.
So that was my journey.
I'm into old shit too. Please, somebody buy these old shirts. It's not going to work anymore in 2024.
Oh.
How am I going to get rid of this?
That's vintage.
It's vintage. Vintage merino.
No, but that's like, I mean, those will become collector's items.
I hope so. You can get the jacket too. But
So okay, I remember where we were. The other day, yesterday in class, I was like, I was talking, and then I was like, why did I start this story?
Really?
Yes, I do it all the time.
Is it age?
I don't
do
know.
That a lot
I used
lately.
to do it all the time because I'm in the middle of like 5 stories. Like right now, I'm still telling you the story about my dad was practicing for 64 years, and he was a first responder at 9/11, and went down to the.
Oh wow! Really?
He went down to the buildings for 9 months, and adjusted all the workers down there for 9 months, and then 13 years later, he suddenly got like all these respiratory issues like a lot of other people did. So if my dad was a very difficult man. I mean, he was amazing, but he was very difficult. And I used to say, oh my God, this man is going to outlive all of us and he'll kill us going, on the way out. And he only lived to 90. We expected him to live like 120 years.
90s.
Well,
a good life.
But it was like, he was practicing till he was 86.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Why do they call it practicing? How's it?
He actually got it right. He
word?
wasn't just practicing; he got it right.
But even with doctors, this is my practice. Practice, don't you know?
Yeah, I mean it's a weird word because it has the other meaning. If they just called it that, we wouldn't question it.
Yeah, it's a doctor. Yeah. I'm not practicing. I know.
Yes, you should. But nowadays,
what am I, a comedian? I'm a practicing comedian. Hope I could become one someday. Right now I'm in practice.
Listen, Mike, I got introduced to you when I was out here bi-coastally through Joe, I think. And I have been kind of following you, whenever I can get to one of your shows. And some of the jokes are like revised versions of the original jokes, but I always sit there going, please tell that joke, do that bit, because it's just so fresh every single time. I'm sorry, I have to pitch this guy. I have to, because
We have these conversations all the time as a comic, because people will come to a show and say, do that one particular joke. And I feel like, oh, no, I got all new stuff. No, come on, man.
But you find a way to weave something. I mean, honestly, the working at Walmart, like I saw someone else trying to do a bit like that. Like, why? Because I, first of all, never go to checkout.
Checkout.
I never self-checkout. Like, I can't figure it out. I couldn't figure out your doorbell just now. Like, please tell. And I'm always calling.
How do I get in?
I'm always calling somebody over. I'm like, I don't know what to do now. They're like, press cash out. Oh, okay. There's just too many things to look at. Listen, I just recently learned how to edit, and that's for editing my own tapes. I'm not going to edit a movie. I still have a web series that I directed, waiting to edit. If anybody wants, to try their hand at, doing some narrative work on an edit and turn out some good stuff. It's great stuff.
You need an editor?
I need an editor.
Write to us.
But so what happened was after I was out of it for a while and freaking out, I went to HB Studios. I don't even know if it's there anymore, but it's been like, it's a studio that's been there 1,000 years.
Herbert Berghoff Studios
is it still there?
Is in the Village.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's still there. I assume it's still there. You mentioned Uta Hagen. I believe she taught there.
No, I don't know, because it was before my time. But I worked with Karen Ludwig at a completely different school. She was an independent teacher, and she was Uta Hagen's key student, and I was her key student. Now, Karen had moved out of the country. I think she went to London. I don't know. When I wanted to come back to acting, and it was probably several years later, I was starting from scratch. And I came into this acting class, and I won't say who taught it, but his techniques were interesting. Well, actually, the first woman I started with, all she did was talk about what you're wearing. And I was like, okay, this is not an acting class. This is a wardrobe class. So I left. And these classes were kind of sold at they sold you like 19 classes for like $135, which was really cheap. But it was like my way to get back, just to get the stimuli again. And they put 30 people in a class. So you barely got to work unless you got there really early to sign up. So I got there really early. I know this doesn't sound like I'm headed towards why I ended up teaching, but I got there really early to sign up all the time. And like I would end up first. And then by the time, the fifth week, I was like number 9, and then I was off the list and I had to get back on next week because people would sign up and we would be on a waiting list. So basically at the end of 19 weeks, you'd get like 60 minutes of work. You'd get maybe in there for 10 minutes a time.
It's a lot of students.
Yeah. And in this class, the next class that I went to, the guy was good, but there was this one girl, I have no idea what her name is, and it was like 30 years ago, so she'll never know I'm talking about her. Every day she'd come into class and she'd do, like, it was like a monologue class, and she'd be like, and she was doing a monologue from, what was that movie with James Spader and Andy McDowell? It was with 4 people. Such a great movie. You'll know.
Pretty in Pink?
No, it's before, like, maybe after. No, James Spader was older. It was 4 people. Andy McDowell, Peter, I'll remember it. But anyway, there's this monologue where Andy McDowell is sitting with her shrink, and she's going, it's like, chairs aren't chairs. This was where the girl did. Chairs aren't chairs, they're swimming pools. Like, she was talking about how life is not reality anymore, and she's having trouble with it. So this girl brought the monologue to class, and every week she would come in like 5 weeks in a row. It's like, chairs aren't chairs, they're swimming pools. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, who's taking out the garbage? I mean, it was fascinating to watch this girl week after week after week. And somehow this teacher, and he was a male teacher, but I don't blame that on it, but he could not get through to her. And I was sitting outside because I got there really early so I could sign up and I could work, because it was the only acting that I had to satisfy this thirst. And I got there really early and I was sitting outside with her, and we started talking about what is she coming to with this conclusion, and why is she telling the story? And why is she telling the story with like no expression? And what does she want from telling the story? And who is she talking to? I mean, clearly I had a very clear vision of what acting was. I mean, I had a couple of acting classes. So long story short, we went into class that day and she got up and she was like, it's like chairs aren't chairs anymore. They're swimming pools. And I'm just wondering, who's taking out the garbage? And those aren't the exact words to the monologue, and he looked at her and he said, wow, what did you do different this week? And she said, I talked to Lauren outside. I was like,
holy shit.
My God. And it didn't say to me, okay, you can teach. But then I joined a project to go to do a competition as an actor, to get representation.
Yeah.
And it was a big competition. And I started talking to various people that were also in the competition. And they kind of asked me if I would coach them because I was like showing up as an actor. What I was doing was believable and interesting. I had objective. I knew where I came from. I knew where I was going. I knew what I was talking about. I knew who I was talking to. And I have a special way that I approach the work where even on the audition, when there's nothing around you but like, a blue screen or whatever, it was like, you have to create your environment.
Right.
And as we were working through some of these things, as I was working through some of these things in the competition, as we showed up each week for these classes that were not classes, the owner of the organization asked me if I would teach. And then the actors themselves asked if I would coach them. And that's kind of how it started. I haven't thought about that in a really.
Did you like that? How did that make you feel? Because
I have something in my teeth.
In my world, when people started to say to me, "Hey, you'd make a great comedian," I was like, "No, I'm an actor."
It wasn't.
No,
it didn't.
Don't make me do what I don't want to do.
But you were a comedian, and that was natural, and people saw it, and they knew it. And the truth is, like when I look at people that are in my class, that are doing my improv, that end up in my show, because just so you know, that show takes a whole lot of training to get to being able to qualify for it, and yet it's a free show open to the public. But I set a very high bar for it. I almost never, ever said to somebody, you should be a stand-up or you should be a comic. I say you're funny, and you can do comedy at a very high level because you understand that comedy, the foundation of comedy is drama most of the time.
It is. The truth.
Yeah. And so, but for them to look at you and to see like this actual vocation, it's interesting that you had such resistance to it. But I get that.
Well, and I'm going to tell you why, because this is going to circle all the way back to your life. When I was a teenager, all I ever wanted to be was an actor. So you're doing your junior high school plays, you're doing your high school plays. But I was in marching band. I played the drums. And the high school band teacher said to me one day, "You really want to be an actor, don't you?" And I says, "What made you say that?" He goes, "I see the way you present playing the drums. You're not the greatest drummer, but you look like you are." And I said,
wow.
"Yes." And he goes, "Well, I go to the city every weekend. I have friends down in the village. Would you like to go to Herbert Berghoff Studios?"
So you went there too?
Yes. So my first acting class was at HB.
So it was like that. It was like 19 classes for $130.
Well, I was only doing Sunday afternoons.
Oh, so nobody wanted to go to class on Sunday afternoon?
I don't know. I had Bill Hickey.
Oh,
so
okay.
I was petrified.
He was the foundation.
He just kind of sat there scared of this drunk man smoking cigarettes, telling you suck or whatever. But I started going. And then when I graduated high school, I went to the American Academy. And in the American Academy, they teach you the Stanislavski method. So I was actually rebellious. I was like, wait a minute. I want to learn how to get an agent. I want to audition for movies. Why do I have to keep repeating myself?
Repetition is that's Meisner. So Stanislavski's method.
Oh, I don't even remember.
Yeah, I mean, the fact of the matter is, if people ask me, what do you teach? And I say to them, it's a blended technique. It's really my technique. I teach intuitive, like my work is all intuitive. It's like, it's got to be real. You've got to believe it. You've got to connect to it. At the end of the day, techniques don't matter. But these are certain methods that lead you to a conclusion within the acting. And I have done things in my class that I have made up. And people go, "Oh, that's Meisner." And I'm like, "Oh, well, I never took a Meisner class in my life. I guess, okay." But what that told me was that acting is not, like, no one invents any part of acting. They discover what works, and then they give it their name. And then it becomes their technique. Right, well. So ultimately, I teach a blended technique, but what I teach is the truth.
Right. So, I would rather take that type of class because I was rebellious.
Yeah.
However, fast forward, when I started doing some acting roles, I realized they were actually right. Because there was this one class, I forgot who the teacher was. It was a female teacher. And they kept saying, do this, do this, do this, which was the repetitive thing. And I go, but this is not working. This is not working. This is stupid. This doesn't make any sense. And then I don't know what this lady said to me. She goes, do you realize all you try to do is memorize your lines?
Yeah.
And if you just listen to what the other person was saying, you would actually memorize your line because it's you're answering the question. So why don't you take a big, deep breath, just stare the other person in the eye, let them do the talking, and see what happens to your face. And then I realized in real life, we actually do respond by listening.
Oh, 100%. You know, it's funny because you're making 2 points for me. Like yesterday, I was with a student, and he had been home and memorizing his lines for 3 days, and he had this 6-page audition. And it was like we couldn't get off the first page. And I'm like, will you listen to these keywords that I'm saying to you that are, first of all, triggering the next line? And then all it boiled down to was he's not envisioning anything that he's saying. Something I say all the time is, we don't think in words, we think in pictures. So if you could just start your memorization process with literally inserting or allowing yourself to venture or journey in those images of what you're talking about, you will remember your lines.
Mm-hmm.
And there was something else you were talking about that I'm like, I want to pick up on that too. So we were having this exchange and I was like, look at me. And he kept looking next to me. And I'm like, you need to look at me. I'm giving you something. So it's like, it is, they are kind of right, but not every concept works for every actor. And, you know, for you to finally cave to it, like, look, we don't have every revelation on the first day of acting class. We just don't, you know, sometimes it takes years and sometimes it takes minutes. You know, someone can call themselves a natural and I'm like, oh, okay, you are kind of natural. But when I think of all the students that actually left class too quickly to like learn what their range was, it like kind of breaks my heart because I know they still want it somewhere. At the end of the day, there's a lot of things to learn. And when you get it, it's like, the light bulb goes off.
Oh, it's like having an orgasm.
Kind of.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It's like stand-up too, because when you finally get to a peak where you know you're going to do something funny, you change it anyway. And then you peak. Well, you have the jokes that you write, but for some reason or other, on a Friday you told it one way, got some laughs, but on a Saturday you told it a different way, and it's twice as big.
Because you have to be in it. You have to be in it. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is like either your memorization techniques are wrong, whatever it was, and just saying lines, that's no, like I say to people, do you think that sounds fun? The purpose of acting is to lose yourself in a character that gets you excited and to find the ways to make that character exciting to you.
I recently was lucky enough to work on a project, and it was a friend who's directing and directing. He wrote it and he produced it. Uh-huh. And he called me up and he goes, listen, this is the project that I'm doing. I think you're right for it. I need you to audition. I'm like, you got it. Because I don't want anything handed to me. Mm-hmm. I want to read for it. Give me the lines. Let's do this. So I did it.
Well, you're also really good now and you know what you're doing. So it's like,
I feel good about what I do.
I'll show you.
Oh, I'm coming to get you.
Yeah.
I'm coming to get you. Give me the challenge. So I got the part. We went down there to shoot it, and he just showed it to me a couple of days ago. It's called Arthur Avenue. It's a real badass piece, and I play a mobster.
Arthur Avenue.
It's just a piece. Arthur Avenue is in the Bronx.
Uh-huh. My dad's from the Bronx.
Is that right? Bronx. Everybody from back east is from the Bronx, Brooklyn, the outer boroughs, Queens. So anyway, I did the short, and he showed it to me, and he goes, I want you to take a look at this part when you're thinking about answering this guy. Mm-hmm. And I go, okay. And you see me in this wonderment. And he goes, you know where I got that from? And I go, in the scene? He goes, no. You are actually thinking about what you were going to do in the scene. And I'm looking at you, and I turned to the cameraman and said, film him. Film him. Look at his face.
Oh, yeah, I do.
Look
I
at
like
his
that.
face.
Listen,
get him now.
Yes. You know, I tell actors, I say, listen, if you want to be an actor, you should get all that breathing and thinking out of the way. You don't want any of that. And then I look at them, I look at the expressions on their face, and I'm like, I'm kidding. Like, think. Let us see you think. And I want to complicate your scenes so much with things that you can't even think about, whether you like the scene or you don't like the scene or you don't like the person, you're just in it because you've got all these things operating at the same time. So I'm sure that was one of the shining moments. And it really teaches you a lot. Listen, when we went online or when we started taping auditions, actors were so resistant to it. I'm like, guys, listen, we get to show them exactly what we want to show them when we tape. And we also get to do it a few times. But don't get too used to doing something 1,000 times because you're not going to get that on set. But I was also able, like I have an actor, his name is Kyle Allen, and he's now an A-list actor. He was in the Haunting of Venice with Kenneth Branagh, and that elevated his status. But he's had tons of series and I don't know if that's series is that
I was going to say, is that a word?
I don't know.
He had tons of roles in television
in
shows.
Series, yeah. But he also was in The Greatest Beer Run Ever. He was in what the hell's it called with Marie Antoni?
Tony and Tina's Wedding?
No. Spielberg just directed it, and there was an original one with Natalie Wood. Oh my God, what is wrong with my memory?
Cape Fear?
No. It's a dance movie.
Saturday Night Fever.
I can't believe I can't remember the name. You're gonna die laughing. You're gonna be like writing it in the comments.
Dirty Dancing.
West Side Story.
West Side Story. Oh, the new West Side Story.
He was in the recent remake of West Side Story.
Oh, really? Who did he play?
He was one of the Sharks because he's white. I don't know what the Sharks or
the Jets are white.
The Jets. Okay, so he's one of the Jets.
Well, I don't even know if it's that way anymore because we're diverse now.
Well. Anyway, well, he had a minor major role in that, but that was like a pretty big leap because most of those actors in that movie, he was one of the few that had film experience. They were all from Broadway.
Oh, really?
And stage, yeah. I mean, I may be, don't quote me, but
here's a trivia. Do you people know that in the original West Side Story,
oh, now you know about
the guy
West
who
Side
played
Story?
Riff, the lead, won an Oscar
for that movie?
Mm-hmm.
Why do you know that?
I don't know. Because they said he never worked again.
That's very interesting. Wait, the lead Tony or Riff?
Riff.
I'd have to watch it. I don't even know who the hell Riff is in that movie.
He was the lead Jet.
What's happening?
The house is falling apart. No, there's somebody hitting somebody's cleaning the front rails.
Perfect timing, right?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't really matter.
I don't think anybody can hear that. We heard it.
It's your show anyway. If you want this like mysterious sound in the background, these are sound effects. You're gonna put them in later, right?
We are in a studio in Los Angeles, California, and it sounds right now like someone's cleaning out front. I don't even know if they can hear that.
It sounds like a crime drama show where somebody is sneaking in and walking up metal stairs.
It is kind of creepy.
Into the back door, and then
we're actually doing the sequel right now to Nosferatu.
Live
Nosferatu?
From his mother's basement.
Jail. From the jail. They stopped. It was probably Amazon.
It ended. Why was I talking about Kyle? I don't remember.
Because he's an actor in your class, and now he's an A-lister.
Yeah, but that wasn't why. I brought it up to say he is an A-lister, but let me tell you about him. So, I don't know. He started as a dancer. He was, not an actor at all. But I feel like dancers are great candidates for this. I'm derivating like to another story, but he's they're great candidates because they're very disciplined.
I always wanted to call myself an entertainer. That's what I usually say to everybody because I'm an actor, I'm a comic, I can't sing, I could try to dance, but I'm in the entertainment business, which makes me an entertainer.
Well, that leads me to my show, which ran for 10 years. We closed it on its 10th anniversary. We'll do some revivals. So
I was there.
Yeah. So
and I worked
I wanted you to open for the show.
I'd love to do it. I enjoy doing that.
Well, we're trying to create a revival. I've got to find a new theater. The old theater, somehow somebody confiscated it from him. The owners of the theater, the woman I think passed away, and the son just wants to knock the building down. It was an amazing theater. We were in 11 locations, 11 theaters in 10 years. This one we were in for the 2 years coming out of lockdown, and we loved this theater. It was a magnificent theater.
Explain to everybody what that is, because it's a different art form other than taking an acting class or doing stand-up where you're by yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, so...
Jack Rabbits?
The Jack Rats.
Jack Rats. I don't know why I said rabbit.
Mad Jack. Yes.
How'd you even come up with that?
Okay, interesting question. So it was funny because we selected the people in my studio that qualified for it, and what they needed to be in order to qualify for it was not just good improvers. They had to have certain things that they could do that made up how these segments went. Somebody had to have a talent. Basically, you had to have a talent for closing, and everybody needed that. You had to have a talent for fixing things. So it's strictly improv. They pull a suggestion from the ball. A ball, it's a hamster ball that we bought at a pet shop, and the audience would put their suggestions in the ball when they showed up at the theater, and they could be anything. So it's a real risk. Like, you got to know how to just really be great on your feet. So we had one or two guys that usually started it because they could just somehow an idea popped into their head, and other ones that would sit on the sides and they would contemplate how they were getting in. It's a long form of improv, which originated in my class. It's a very unique process. I started it as a warm up to the scene study, but it became a phenomenon. It created characters like you can't even imagine. Like one kid, he's not a kid anymore, but he has about 350 characters, maybe more, and he actually has an Instagram page. You should really look at him. He's amazing. His name is Mickey Shiloah, Mickey without an E, and Shiloah on Instagram. So that's his name. He plays himself, his girlfriend, his mother, his father, his grandmother, his grandfather, his sister, his brother's friend, his sister's girlfriend, her mother, her father, her grandmother, her grandfather, and every character is costumed and like, I don't teach costuming.
No shit, we're going to take a look at this.
I don't teach costuming. I don't teach makeup. I don't teach any of that. But what they're doing in this improv is they're writing, directing, editing, costume changing, and set designing while they're also acting and creating these characters. And so when this show, when this was going on in my studio, it evolved. It grew. It's got a couple of rules and guidelines and processes in order to remain within the context of how you can make a successful story. And it goes for about 45 minutes straight. And, most improvs, they like swipe it out immediately if it goes wrong. I don't feel like that gives actors survival skills. So when you can become a fixer, and when you can become a closer, and when you can become a starter, you qualify for the show. And it's intelligent humor. So anything goes. I mean, we've had suggestions from square dancing and a t-shirt to drinking coffee on the moon. I mean, like crazy stuff. And as we evolved, we got to them doing double characters. We got to them using double suggestions. But somebody would put in the ball t-shirt. It's like, oh, so you waited all month, because it was a monthly show. You waited all month to come up with t-shirt. But they would do such creative things with it. It was unbelievable. This, I don't know why I started the story. You asked me to tell about that. I'm going somewhere with this.
But so everybody can understand what she's saying, if you don't get that, they give suggestions to the talent on stage, and then they have to present it.
So this
it's not easy.
It's really hard. This story, this improv format, my signature format, which is what I teach in my class to open every class, is called making a movie. That's literally what I call it, making a movie, because they're making a movie. And I think it's a hugely important element in your acting. A lot of agents and whatever will tell people, you should take an improv class. But these improv classes, mostly I don't want to badmouth anybody, but mostly they're interested in getting you to the next level at the school. So you got to do this until you qualify to do this, till you qualify to do this. In my format, I'm like, show me what you're good at. Start there. And it's an improv where you can come from any walk of life and do it. You don't need to know genres. You don't need to know how to sing or dance. But I have to say, the other day they did a whole entire improv that was film noir, and all of them, I was like, you were all totally, it was perfect. Not the improv, there was still notes. So what I do is I give notes at the end of the improv, and then we go into the scenes. And at some point, one of my students said to me, this can't stay in the classroom. This has got to go out. So we did a search for some theaters, and we selected, you asked me how I got the name. So we were basically picking who was going to be in this class, who was going to be in the show. And at that time, we went way overboard. We took 12 people into it. That's a lot of people.
It's too many?
It is. I mean, it kind of safeguards you from running out of things to say or things to do, but that's not what we're interested in. We're interested in engaging conversations that's intelligent enough to keep the thing going And there's wisdom in being able to do that. With 12 people, it was like everybody wanted fair time.
Yeah.
And it just takes too much time. So
I always
how
felt
got
like it's one of the most difficult things to have somebody relax a little bit because everybody wants to have the last line.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you something. I generate very generous actors. Like, there's no room for you in my community if you don't have a generosity of spirit, if it's not all about you. And yet it needs to be all about you. Like, you've got to have your path, your story. You've got to drive everything that you're doing, and it's got to make sense, but it's got to make sense with a community. So the name of the show. So we were looking for a name of the format, and we called it LPNS Improv, which is Lauren Patrice Nadler Studios Improv. LPNS is capital, LPNSI, and PROV. So it's capital and lower. So if you can look for that on Instagram as well. It's kind of dormant right now because we're not.
Somebody's dying to talk to me.
Well,
Sorry about that. Yeah, I'm trying to be popular.
You are popular. So the long and short of it is that we were trying to come up with a name, and we finally, with what we did was we put together. Like overnight. It came up. The visual of it, how I was gonna promote it and market it, and then my partner was like, "Oh my God, that's brilliant." We came up with, it became a name of a made-up animal because there's no such thing as a jackrat. But it was Michael, Matt, and Mickey, M, lowercase a. D was Mad. Who was D? Desiree. And then J was Jeremy, lowercase Jack, A. Chadwick was C. K. It was when Kua joined that we had the K.
Oh, okay. So it's an abbreviation of all these names.
It's an acronym of all their names. So the K was Kua, and then A, Tina, and Susanna. So obviously the original people, there were 3 people that were still with the company at the very end. Mickey, Tina, and Kua. And they took over. They were just amazing. All of them were amazing, but new people joined. So we didn't change the name of the group, but it was started out as an acronym for the members of the company. And I always think that's an interesting story because I think it was kind of fun.
Well, yeah, because I thought it meant something.
It means nothing.
Well, no,
Nothing.
it's everybody's name or acronym, but I thought it had something to do with sketch somewhere, somehow.
No.
I opened for their sketch company once. It was a lot of fun.
Did you do an opening?
Yes, don't you remember? It was at the
It was like
place on
115 shows.
Magnolia Boulevard in Lancashire. I forgot what the name of that place was. It was an old theater from back in the
68?
No, I know those cats as well, but it was near there. No, it was on the corner where there used to be a printer. He's not there anymore, and a lamp store. It was right next to a lamp
I'm
store.
trying to think because like the other day I was
Whitmore, something with a W.
Whitmore Lindley. We did.
That's it.
But we didn't use. I feel like we did a special there. Were you in our special?
Well, it was just one night, so I guess it was a special.
Was it a Christmas special?
I don't remember that. No.
I have to find.
No, it was a
every
class.
Single
it was
show.
really cool. I remember you students. Everybody was kind of like laughing behind me. Then they came out and did their scenes.
Did it feel like the show that you saw like 2 shows ago that Freddie was in?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I have videotape of all of it.
No kidding.
It's like it's.
Oh, we got to find that. We'll put that on YouTube.
I got to look for it because I feel like. So we did 95 shows, in 3 years. I mean, in 10 years, and then we had one stint where we did 5 shows in a month for the Fringe Festival, and then we did like specials for holidays. But do you know what year that was?
No, man.
Yeah, I'll find it.
I can't remember half the stuff I do. I'm not going to remember what I did yesterday.
It's not
I'm
like I
getting old,
forgot
man.
you, but I.
It was a lot of fun. I want to do it again. I mean, are you also doing casting from time to time?
No,
and directing?
I mean, like in the back. Yes, I am directing. So back in the day, that's why when you introduced me, I was like, you left one thing out.
Directing?
Yes.
I left it out?
Yeah.
Directing.
It's okay. I knew we'd get to it, but casting. So back in New York, I was like one of my friends. I was the only actor that he knew, so he enlisted me in casting something. And after that, it caught on that I was like kind of a casting director, and I worked at a bar downtown, which used to be a roller skating rink. Do you remember the name of that place?
No.
It was
Rollerisco.
No, it was on Varick Street, and it was a really big bar. But anyway, I worked there at at a bar, and the owner of the bar, apparently, I didn't know this, but he recommended me. I did a casting session there, and then he recommended me to his friend. I ended up casting Adrian Brody in his first lead role.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah.
Adrian Brody. Yeah. Isn't he an Oscar winner now, right?
Yes. An Oscar winner, and he just won the Golden Globe.
Wow.
But so I ended up casting him in his first lead role, and I did another movie with the same director, casting it, not directing it, and Adrian Brody was in that too. So I ended up casting a few people's projects, but it's not, here's how I feel about casting, and it's not to invalidate casting directors because we need them. I just felt like because I had this aptitude for directing or teaching actors or working on their performances that it felt like I was pregnant, but I never got to have the baby. That's what casting felt like to me. So I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to get locked into it, but it certainly opened up a lot of doors. Like for me, I feel like even though I had nothing to do with Adrian Brody's talent, I feel like he taught me a lot. He was very concentrated as a young person.
If you had the best of all worlds, what would you prefer to do in the industry?
Direct, but I would keep teaching because I love teaching.
How does everybody find a teacher like you? Tell them. Where are you?
Well, I'm physically in North Hollywood. My website is laurenpatricenadlerstudios.com. My Instagram is at laurenpatricenadlerstudios, I think. I'm all over. I'm international now because I have a hybrid. I teach online and in person. And I love I feel like I wish everybody would at least take my online class, even if they're coming in person, because that's where the industry is going.
So do you do private?
Yes.
One-on-one?
For the most part, I would say that right before lockdowns, for at least 5 years, I was coaching 4 auditions to my students who had representation through a series of events, consultations. In some cases, the agents recommended the people to me, but I was coaching probably 15 hours a day.
Do you also do, like, say, I have an audition, I just want to go over my sides?
That's coaching for an audition. Yeah.
Okay.
I coach for auditions.
So I don't have to be in the class. I just come and I say, look, here's the sides. I got an audition tomorrow. Help me out.
A lot of people find me that way. And
I want everybody to find out right now how they can find you, because even if you're not an actor, but you want to have some kind of a knowledge of what it's like to be in the business, or maybe you're presenting something at a corporate event, it can actually help you bump up your personality for the event.
I private coach for auditions, for general learning how to act. I do standing appointments for people like that, but people who have auditioning, they just schedule on in the moment. Like they'll reach out to me like, I have an audition on Friday, can I come in Tuesday? Or I have a tape that's due on Thursday, can I come in tonight? And online, I do it online as well. I was doing that well before lockdowns, though. I had some students.
I want to do an online class, and I'm definitely going to take a class, because even if I don't have an audition, I just want to work on my acting and see what I miss by taking a class with Lauren. And you could do it too. We do got to get going, but I want everybody to hear, again, where they can find you so that they know how to contact you without going to my website.
I'd love to coach you.
You could do it. I'm ready to be coached.
Even though you're freaking amazing, but there's always something you'll miss.
Bang this out.
You can find me at laurenpatricenadlerstudios.com. That's my website. You can find all information about my online classes, my in-person classes, my online coaching, my in-person coaching. And my Instagram is at laurenpatricenadlerstudios on Instagram. I'm not on Twitter.
She's not even on TikTok.
No, I'm not.
TikTok's going away in a little while anyway.
I'm not on that either. It became addictive, so I'm not into addictions.
Well, listen, I want to thank you so much for coming down the basement. You know I love you, and I definitely want to take a class. I want to do a big shout out to my producer, Tatiana Bluchel, for always making sure we have a great guest come down to the basement, and she produces a fantastic show. We're always every Tuesday night at 8 o'clock on my YouTube channel, Mike Marino Live on YouTube. You can also find us on Spotify, and we're always on New York Italian American Radio in New York City. All right, we got to get going. Let's remember, everybody, make America Italian again. You know the motto. You don't know nothing. You don't see nothing. You don't say nothing. And how do I end every single one of my broadcasts by saying the same thing along with my guest? It's don't take no shit from nobody.
Oh, I love it.
You ready?
Yeah.
Ready? Don't take no shit from nobody. Hey folks, thanks for watching live from my mother's basement. I hope you enjoyed the show. And if you did, hit the word like and leave me a really cool comment. You can also subscribe to my YouTube channel so you don't miss any of the future episodes, and you can watch some of the funniest videos on the internet. You can also listen to the show on Spotify or your favorite podcast app.